We cannot sustain an economy based on innovation unless we have citizens well educated in math, science, and engineering.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
Parents often ask me, what the motivation was or the inspiration of why I created Professor Know-How's lab. And I think the best answer is probably what would have happened if a character like Professor Know-How had come to my school and brought this kind of lab experience and hands-on learning opportunity. What difference would it have made in our lives, and what our country would look like today?
Well, some people may see this lab and see it as a science lab. I see it as a lab for learning, because immediately when I first came into the Professor Know-How lab, it was just amazing what kids were learning.
Quite honestly, if you do not engage students in their middle grades and really make them want to learn and be excited about learning, and especially about learning STEM subjects, then by the time they get to high school, it's really too late.
Professor Know-How's Lab is a free after-school program that engages middle school students in STEM subjects through a truly unique hands-on approach. The STEM subjects are science, technology, engineering, and math.
We are not educating our young people for engineering, science, math, technology. We're doing a rotten job, in fact. The rest of the world is doing the job. They are producing the scientists and the engineers and the technology experts, and if we don't do more of the Professor Know-How work to have students become interested in science, we're going to lose our edge.
The industrial America that's going on right now, our skilled workforce is being depleted very rapidly, and we have to replace that resource. And the only way we're going to replace that resource is by getting children involved with magnetics, electricity, machining, so that we can reestablish and rebuild the skilled workforce in the United States so that we can still remain the United States.
What I think is so unique about Professor Know-How's lab is a combination of small group, active learning with very engaging science equipment, very high-level kinds of science labs. For so often what happens in science classrooms in our district, but also in other districts, when we attempt to do a science lab in a room full of 28 or 30 students, is that it's very superficial. Professor Know-How's lab uses less than 10 students, typically between 6 and 8 students at the time. They're able to touch, they're able to work with all the equipment.
When I entered the classroom, I knew exactly why I was encouraged to engage with Professor Know-How. They had the most incredible equipment, but the dialogue back and forth was really, really rewarding. They were talking about literature, they were talking about history. This was an experience that I thought was going to be good, but it was really great.
Professor Know-How's approach is to get kids engaged in learning science by taking apart the technology, all the gadgets that they use and love every day, and finding out how simple it is and how it all works. And by exploring how things work, it encourages them to invent things.
Because they get their hands on it, it becomes ingrained in their brain through their hands, and they get it, and this then stimulates their want and their need and the desire to go out and do research on their own.
After Professor Know-How's lab, it really reflected on my learning, so I get A's in math now, and now my favorite subject is science.
We can't expect a teacher to be able to do all that they do in the short amount of time that they have, To be able to ignite these passions and ignite these interests in every subject and in every concept, these people who are experts in their field can do that.
What I see happening as the word continues to grow and people find out more about Professor Know-how's lab, and more importantly, the successes that we've been having, I see people stepping up to the plate, philanthropists, educational entrepreneurs, and I see them making certain, providing the funding that will make it possible for every boy and girl in America to experience this one-of-a-kind learning opportunity.
I think what happens in Professor Know-how's lab can have a great impact on education overall. And we need to provide opportunities for students of all different types, all different needs, from kindergarten through grade 12. We only have limited amount of time, of talent, of resources, but we also have partnerships. And partnership with Professor Know-how's lab is a great resource for us. As a superintendent, I recommend it highly.
And I do believe if they're excited about learning about science and they see what learning can do, that's going to follow through to math and language arts and social studies. It makes them want to learn.